In our busy day-to-day lives, we often take for granted the beauty of the landscapes around us. Yet these landscapes are carefully designed and planted to create environments that are attractive and functional and that enhance nearby buildings, roadways, and other plantings. Landscape designers and installers, nursery workers, and home gardeners are all involved in selecting the plants that are at the heart of any landscape. Plants contribute to our surroundings with their beauty, their shade, their edible fruits, and, just as importantly, plants provide us with a connection to nature, even in an urban environment. In previous videos, we've discussed the skills of landscape design, planting techniques, and plant identification. In this video, we'll explore another important skill related to landscapes: plant selection. This African daisy is an excellent ground cover plant for many landscapes. This pepper tree was chosen as a shade tree because its broad canopy provides a cool environment during summer months. Ground covers and shade trees are examples of landscape functions which must be understood for proper plant selection. Let's take a closer look at ground covers and the functions they perform in a landscape. An inviting green lawn of evenly mown grass is probably one of the most familiar ground covers and usually provides the best cover for areas we want to walk upon. But most ground cover plants are chosen for other reasons, such as erosion control on hillsides, mass plantings beneath trees and shrubs, for color or fragrance along walkways, or because they may require less maintenance and water than a lawn. Ideally, we choose plants that are rapid growers, so a bare area is covered quickly. When selecting ground cover plants, we look for those that stay fairly low and spread horizontally as they grow. Most ground covers are no more than 2 feet tall or so. Ground covers may be colorful and showy, or quite plain and subtle. Let's look next at selecting plants for hedges, which provide another important landscape function. Hedges are often planted to separate or enclose areas within a landscape. They're frequently used in place of fences or walls to create a barrier. Notice the prickly leaves of this Mahonia hedge that discourage trespassing. Hedges may also be used as screens to provide privacy and color near windows and patios. When selecting plants for hedges, we look for those that grow upright with a dense branching habit. As with ground covers, ideal hedge plants are rapid growers, so an area is filled quickly. Depending upon their purpose in the landscape, hedges may be tall to block wind, noise, or an unpleasant view, or low. They may be evergreen, keeping their leaves year-round, or deciduous, losing their leaves during the cold months of the year. Hedges are often described as formal or informal. This well-manicured boxwood is an example of a formal hedge. This more naturally shaped abelia is an informal hedge. Background plants provide another valuable function. We select them to create a backdrop for showier plants in the landscape. They may be tall or low-growing, depending upon our choice of plants in the foreground. When selecting background plants, we look for those that have attractive but fairly plain foliage that will not detract from the plants in front of them. Foundation plants are named for their original function of hiding the raised foundations of older homes and other structures. Today we use the term foundation plants to refer to those used to soften the transition between a building and the growing areas of a landscape. When selecting foundation plants, we choose those that are dense and branched close to the ground. Although evergreens are usually preferred, in some situations and climates, we might choose deciduous plants. Let's look next at trees, which provide several important landscape functions. Lawn trees may contribute colorful foliage, showy flowers, or shade to an area planted with turf. Because lawns require ample moisture, lawn trees are selected for their ability to thrive with frequent waterings. They may be large, as is this magnolia, or fairly small, as is this crepe myrtle. As their name implies, street trees are planted near roads and streets. When selecting trees for this function, we look for those that are neat in appearance and those that have deep roots that will not lift sidewalks. They should also be branched high so they won't interfere with roadway visibility. Adaptability to air pollution from automobile exhaust is also an important consideration. Skyline trees are selected for their interesting form when seen from a distance. This tall palm is an excellent skyline tree for some areas. Shade trees are planted for the cool environments they create during warm weather. When selecting shade trees, we look for those that have dense foliage blocking out maximum sunlight. We've introduced 8 landscape functions involved in plant selection. They're especially important because they often provide a basic framework for an attractive and appropriate landscape. Let's review them. Ground covers stay fairly low, spread horizontally, and are often used under trees or on hillsides. Hedges are dense and are planted to provide privacy or to separate areas within a landscape. Background plants are attractive but fairly plain, providing a backdrop for showier plants in the landscape. Foundation plants provide a gentle transition between buildings and growing areas. Lawn trees are adaptable to frequent waterings and often provide summer shade. Street trees beautify roadways and are high-branched with deep roots. Skyline trees have attractive silhouettes, and shade trees provide shelter from the sun under a dense canopy of foliage. Along with landscape function, you also want to consider a plant's specific area or location within a landscape. For example, this gazania has been well chosen as a ground cover under this small tree and around these shrubs, but it is also appropriate for the confined area of this entryway. An entryway is an example of a specific area or location within a landscape that influences plant selection. Let's take a closer look at entryways and some other special landscape situations. Entryways provide an important first impression for a home or commercial building. When selecting plants for entryways, we look for color, fragrance, or interesting shapes. In addition, mature size should be appropriate to the entryway. This attractive entryway is planted with lush tropical tree philodendrons, ferns, and flowering begonias, and creates a welcoming atmosphere. Patios and other outdoor meeting areas may also be enhanced by proper plant selection. The plants in this patio area provide a comfortable atmosphere for recreation or business and are well suited to a somewhat restricted area. Interior landscapes are also examples of specific areas or locations and are an important part of the landscape industry. Interior scapes bring an element of the outdoors into homes, offices, and other public buildings. When selecting plants for interiors, we choose plants that are tolerant of factors such as heating and cooling systems, low light conditions, and the confines of container growth. Adaptability to long-term container growing, whether outdoors or in an interior scape, is an important consideration of plant selection. Container plants are commonly used in patios, entryways, and along walkways. The most important consideration when selecting these plants is that they grow successfully and for a long time in the limited soil area provided by a container. These ficus trees are ideal for long-term container use. Theme gardens contribute special features to a landscape. Their plants may be selected to attract birds or butterflies. Theme gardens may also be planted for different fragrances, color schemes, cut flowers, or to formalize an area within a landscape. Some plants are selected for their culinary or medicinal purposes. Many of the plants you see here are edible or produce edible fruits. Plants may also be selected for their ability to provide erosion control, fire resistance, or because they require minimal maintenance time, such as these succulents. Still other plants are chosen because they contribute to the landscape in more than one way. This lemon tree provides fruit and also serves as a background plant for these colorful flowers. Along with function and location within a landscape, we also need to consider safety when selecting plants. Some plants or parts of certain plants are poisonous. These English ivy berries are toxic if eaten. We need to be especially aware of this when selecting plants for areas used by children. Nurseries and county home and farm advisors can provide you a thorough list of poisonous plants. We must also be sure that the plants we select do not interfere with visibility, foot or automobile traffic, nor create any other potentially dangerous situation. Notice the openness of this attractive entryway. Its overall design and plant selection discourage burglary. The plants we select for landscaping purposes come from many different parts of the world. For example, this maple tree is native to Asia, and this dahlia originally came from South America. Because plants come from many different areas, it's crucial that we understand our regional climate and pay attention to the environmental needs of the plants we select. A term that is often used when describing plants is their hardiness. Hardiness usually refers to the plant's ability to withstand cold temperatures and to survive outdoors throughout all seasons of the year. You may realize that hardiness has a different meaning in different areas of the country. For example, although this tropical bird of paradise is hardy to the winter temperatures here, where the coldest night of the year may be 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it wouldn't survive the snow-covered winters of Colorado. To help understand the climate of an area and to select plants suited to that climate, we refer to several sources. Some general plant encyclopedias include a zoning map, such as this one, indicating in which zones the listed plants will thrive. In addition, some regional plant encyclopedias have their own more specific zoning designations. Until we become familiar with the needs, tolerances, and growing characteristics of specific plants, References such as these are invaluable tools for plant selection. Let's look more closely at specific environmental conditions that play a major role in plant selection. Conditions such as sun and wind exposure and soil characteristics. The plants in this landscape are appropriate for this area's climate and are ideal for the functions they provide. In addition, they've been selected for specific areas within the landscape based on their environmental needs. This flowering cherry likes a full sun exposure, deep soil, and is tolerant of wind. On the other hand, this planting of camellia prefers a partly shaded location that's somewhat protected from the wind with a rich organic soil. When selecting plants, we need to be aware of such microclimates within a landscape. A microclimate refers to a relatively small area that has special environmental features affecting plant growth. Let's look at an example of a microclimate. This area is quite humid and has soil that stays fairly wet. Some plants would not grow well here, but these ferns and this camellia thrive in such conditions. Likewise, this exposed hilly area is hot, dry, windy, and has rocky soil that dries out quickly. These junipers are tolerant of these conditions and will continue to do well here. Let's review the different microclimate factors we've discussed. Microclimates within a landscape may have different sun exposures, moisture conditions, temperatures, soil types. The combination of several of these factors make the selection of appropriate plants a must. As you become involved with plant selection, you'll discover several valuable resources for information regarding the growing habits and requirements of specific plants. We've already looked at plant encyclopedias. In addition to these, your instructor, libraries, and botanic gardens can also be important sources of information. You may also want to visit your local county agricultural extension agents or become involved with the Master Gardener programs in your area. Plant sources, such as local nurseries, and mail-order catalogs also provide valuable information. Another available resource is the exciting area of computer-aided plant selection. This fairly recent innovation is used more and more by landscape architects, designers, students, nursery workers, and homeowners. With special software programs, a computer can help us make important plant selection decisions. Let's take a look at one.
Elizabeth, let's use this computer program to select plants for a specific landscape situation you might know of, perhaps your office or home.
Okay, I've got a site at home where I'd like to plant a lawn tree, and I'd like it to be kind of medium-sized with a rounded form and light green foliage.
What's the microclimate like in terms of sun exposure, soils, and wind?
Well, it's in full sun most of the day. It tends to be windy a lot of the time, but I know the soil's real good, drains real well.
All right, let's enter those criteria into the computer and see what it comes up with.
Okay.
Even the most experienced horticulturist would have trouble remembering more than a few plants that could be used in this specific landscape situation. But with this plant selection software program, you can specify your criteria and the computer will provide a list of plants meeting those requirements.
So let's see what the program's come up with for your situation.
Well, it looks like it's come up with 8 trees that would fit my site and those environmental conditions. That's great.
Next, you could go to a book to look at a color image of these plants. Some plant selectors come with such books. Others utilize a laser disc to display color images on the screen.
Most plant selection software programs offer several hundred characteristics that can be specified regarding a landscape situation. In addition, these programs are usually equipped with a database of hundreds of plants from which the computer can choose to meet given specifications. Because we're able to specify the function, size, and special features of a desired plant, as well as the climate and microclimate, computer-aided plant selection is a remarkable and valuable tool. In this video, we've discussed several important components of proper plant selection. We've explored different landscape functions, such as ground covers, hedges, and street trees. We've also looked at specific locations within landscapes, such as entryways, interior scapes, and theme gardens. We've discussed the importance of environmental factors and safety considerations. And we've looked at some valuable sources of information, including computer-aided plant selection. With experience and increased knowledge, you'll find that the skill of proper plant selection will increase your understanding and appreciation of the many different and beautiful landscapes around you.